This is the demo for uploading sounds into Audio Tool. The first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that you have the sounds that you've recorded loaded onto your Google Drive. For this demo, I'm doing it on a Mac, and so I'm actually going to be uploading the sound straight from my desktop, but the steps will be essentially the same. So go to your Audio Tool account, and if you want to open up a project, you can. I'm in my Beat project already. You're going to go up to Project in the upper left-hand corner. And all the way down at the bottom is sample upload. And then you'll see the first option is upload sample. So click on that. And it will actually open up a secondary software called Probe, which is made by Audio Tool, and it is kind of a separate sample just specifically for editing your samples and getting them into Audio Tool. So when this opens up here, this little window is really important that you check the right option. There's either empty, record, or browse. Some of these other options we'll use for other projects possibly. You can actually record straight into Probe if you want using the microphone on your laptops, but the microphone on your laptop is not great, and so I generally will not recommend using these two options because usually we're going to be recording the sounds outside of your laptop. So we'll go to Browse. And that'll let you look at your computer and find where the sounds are. So you'll go on the left here and find your Google Drive and find the folder where you stored the sounds. Mine, like I said, is just on the desktop here, so I'm going to open it up right here. And in class, I demoed the boom sound that I opened, so I'm going to show on this cack sound that I made. I'm going to pull that in and do that. So select it, go open, and it'll bring up a visual representation of your sound. Now these visual representation, it's important to know what this means actually, these pictures of sound. Basically what you're looking at is the volume of the sound. So you can see that like right here, the sound gets really loud for just a short period of time, and then it gets quiet really quickly, and then I've got some other like little teeny things that happen kind of before and after the sound. So I'm going to go ahead and push spacebar so we can listen to this sound. All right. Okay, and you'll notice that the visual on the sound is ahead of the audio, which is kind of just a strange thing because we're working online and they're not perfectly synced up, and the visual is going to be a little bit ahead of where the sound. So even though it looks like right here is the loud part, and it is, the tracker is like way over here by the time you hear this sound, and that might throw you off in the beginning, but you'll get used to it. So the part of this that I want, I hit record, and then there was like a little bit of mic handling sound right here, and then it's quiet, and then I make the sound, and then there's some more handling sound and maybe some wind sound or some other background noises that happen, and I don't want all that background sound in my sound. I just want the cat sound, right? So I'm going to click and select just this part of the sound like that. You'll see that it turns orange, and so now when I push playback, it'll just stay in that selection, and you can hear what the selection sounds like. Beautiful. So I may want to just kind of increase the selection on that. I want like a little bit of that end part. Yeah, that sounds better. So kind of fine tune your selection so it's sounding right, and then most of the time you're going to want to turn off this loop option. What that'll do is when you push play, it'll only play back the sample once instead of like just continually playing it back over and over and over again. So get your selection sounding right. And then the next step that I definitely want you to always do with your samples is if you go up here to effects, these are some different effects that you can apply to your sound. And you're welcome to mess around with some of these, but one that I definitely recommend that you do every time is normalize. And I'm going to go ahead and click on that and watch the waveform to see what happens. Oh, not much. This one's already got a pretty loud part on it. So what will happen if that sound is not already clipping, and you can see that I got one part in the sound that gets like all the way down to the bottom pretty much, and so that means like this sound is already about as loud as it can be just as is. If you recorded your sound and it's a little bit quieter, what the normalize will do is it will turn up your sound so that the loudest part of your sound goes all the way to the maximum. And like I say, since I've already got it, all it takes is one little teeny tick that's already at the maximum point, and normalize is not going to do much for you, right? But if you have a sound that's like this and you normalize that, what it would do is take the whole waveform and turn up everything until it looked something more like this, right? So it's a really important step to do. Kind of just gives you an extra little bit of volume out of your samples. That's real easy process. The other thing that I do quite often is I will apply an EQ, a graphical EQ. Pull this up. And this is just a representation of the frequency spectrum. We'll talk more about this in the coming weeks. But basically, down here is your bass or your lows, and you can turn them up or down. And you've got lots of different points in the frequency spectrum that you can turn up or down. Unfortunately, with this one, you can't listen to the sound while you have this open. So like hear what you're doing as you're doing it. You have to make your adjustments and then hit apply and then listen to see if you like it or not. So if you make an adjustment, like we'll do something like this and then hit apply, you can see that it changes my waveform. It actually made this part louder, which is cool. And then you can push play and you can hear if you like that adjustment. If you don't like it, you just push Control Z and it will undo that. So that's the only way that you can mess around with EQ right now. Not required, but I do recommend you mess around with that. Once you get the sound basically selected how you like and it's sounding like how you like, then you go up here to File, go to Upload. You can either upload the whole sound, which would be like all of this empty space too, or you can upload just your selection, which is generally what you're going to want to do. And then it will bring up this little prompt here to respect copyrights and don't upload sounds that you don't own or that you didn't create yourself. And it does put a little warning here that if you're caught uploading sounds that are copyrighted, that you'll lose your account privileges. So be careful about that. But if you recorded it and it's your voice or you actually making the sound with something, then that's all right. You can own the copyright to that. So let's hit OK here. And then this is a really important window here. Don't just skip past this because this is gonna be critical that you get all these things filled in right before you hit upload. So first of all, you can name the sound. I'm gonna leave this called Keck, but if you want to change the name here, this is where you do it. You can describe it. I definitely recommend that you put a couple tags. What they'll allow you to do is later on when you're searching for sounds, you can type in drum, for instance, and this will come up in your drum list of drum sounds, right? And since this was my voice making the sound, I'm also going to type in voice. That way I can search for drum or voice. And any other tags that you want to have in there, like if you want to search, like this is kind of a snare sound for me, so I might want to put snare also, not 3 snare. Anyway, you can do as many of those as you want. Type of sample, this is really important. One shots will play just once when you use them. Loops will keep playing over and over again. Most of the sounds that we're going to record in this class are going to be one shots, so make sure that's selected. Licensing, this is where you decide like how do you want to be able to use this recording, and do you want other people to be able to use this recording? By default, this is set to a Creative Commons license, which basically means anybody can use this sound for whatever reason. They don't have to pay you any money. They don't have to even, put on their liner notes for their album that they got this sound from you. They can just use it. And most of the sounds that we upload will use the Creative Commons license. Sometimes you'll see 2 other options here. The other 2 options will either be a Creative Commons with attribution, which means that anybody can use it, but if they do use it, they have to, cite you for it. And the other option is nobody can use it. Community visible to all users. You can decide if other people can see it, and then go ahead and hit upload. And your sound is now in Audio Tool. So if we go to Audio Tool now and go over here to samples, you'll see these options right here: all, favorite, and my. If I click on my, you can see I now have my CAC sound is in the list there, and I can click on that and it'll play it, and I can also click on it and drag it into my machinist, and now I can use it just like any of my other sounds, just like that. Easy peasy. That's it.